Welcome to Spam Filter for Your Brain, bite-sized ponderings on how our thoughts influence our behaviour and our lives, and because we're all connected, how our thoughts impact the world. I'm here to help people reconnect with their bodies and declutter their brains. And I don't believe that we should just magically know how our emotions and our thoughts impact our lives if no one ever teaches us. So let's learn this stuff together. I felt it was important to record an extra podcast today to address something that I've been seeing a lot of on the internet at the moment, and that is people conflating how much horror they are consuming from the news and world events, conflating that with how much they care about things. And if you need a permission slip, I want you to take this as it, that the amount of other people's horror and horrific circumstances and pain that you witness has no correlation to how much you care. And I think sometimes people can get really muddled up with thinking that they need to witness all of the things that are going on in the world to show that they are the most informed, the most compassionate, that they are not abandoning the people that they are seeing going through all of the terrible things, that them watching it is somehow showing some sort of companionship and allyship with the people who are going through all of the suffering. And I invite you to just get curious about how that is serving you and how that is serving them, because I know when I see too many things that are horrific, what it does is it shuts me down, it terrorizes me, it means that I'm not able to sleep, it means that I'm not as well rested or as clear-headed to be able to think about how I want to respond to this stuff. What it means is that I too am exhausted and have less to give. There's less of me to go around, there's less of me to be able to think about what ways I can respond that are productive, that are helpful, that are useful, how I can reach out to people, what actions that I can take. Actively choosing to not be a consumer in the voyeurism of other people's torment has left me in a position where I'm able to redirect the energy that I do have to working out how I want to respond, whether I want to write letters, go to demonstrations, connect with people, have difficult conversations, any way that I think taking action that aligns with my values and my politics is available to me. And I just have less of that to go around when I am frozen in horror witnessing other people's pain. So this is just a little reminder to you that how much you watch, how much of other people's horrific circumstances you witness does not equate to how much you care. And when we realise that, we can make far more conscious choices about what we want to do with that energy that we have resourced ourselves with to make the world a more kind, a more just, a more peaceful and a more caring place. That is down to us. There is no big world picture out there. There is just millions of people's everyday interactions. With that energy that you save, you could make a decision today, looking at all of the horror that you have been witnessing on the news, to think about someone who you have a bit of friction with, a bit of tenseness, a tiny or great big point of conflict. You could actively choose to try and bridge that gap today. That is the ripple that you have the energy to go and create, as well as the great big political stuff, when you are more clear because you're not exhausted from consuming so much news. Our brains are not designed to see this much terror. Our brains are not meant to be witnessing this much abject horror. We can take a choice to step away from it so we can make active choices about building a better world. This was something I really felt the need to say this week. I hope that it lands with grace and kindness with you, and I hope you are able to resource yourselves for the bombardment that we are getting from everywhere. I am wishing you well, and I'm wishing you kindness and calm and the courage to be able to reach out to someone who feels like maybe you have your own little piece of peace that you can create here today, just from thinking about how we can each create a little ripple effect out from our own decisions and our own choices. I'll speak to you next week. Hey, I just wanted to dip in at the end of the podcast and just explain what my pricing structure is, because I know that lots of people find accessible pricing a little bit tricky to get their head around. And it's easier if I explain it to you rather than reading it sometimes. Quite often, I think when we look at courses or things that we would like to do, our automatic default is I can't afford that, without actually looking at what the cost is. And I try and make sure that all of my work is available to the people who need it most. So the way that I operate my courses and my photography is that I have a price for people who can afford it, and I have a price which is concessions for people who need that concession price. And for all of my live coaching courses, I offer a free space for folk who need it, who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford self-care work. The reason that I do this is because I think that I really believe with all of my heart that self-care work and these kind of tools to manage our minds shouldn't be just saved for people who can afford it. And therefore, I also offer the pricing available for folk who can afford it to be able to pay it forward and try and help support me in my mission to be able to make this work as accessible to as many people who need it as possible. And in this way, you manage to link your well-being and your self-development and your self-care into that of community well-being and community care and supporting other people, which is both very useful to be able to keep the whole system and structure going, but actually is a sneaky little brain hack to try and navigate around that idea that you shouldn't be doing this work because it's all navel-gazing self-indulgence. And this actually shows that you doing your work helps and benefits more people. So I hope that's a useful thing to know. I've had a bit of feedback from people not actually realising that there are scholarship bursary places available for the courses. And I just want you to know that if you need this and you are worried about paying your bills and you know that doing this kind of work could just help you feel like this is, like things are okay or things are going to be possible, or you just feel like you're reaching for a rope ladder at the moment, maybe the course could be it, and maybe there is a space waiting for you here. And by taking up that space, you are helping all of us. Taking up that space is not taking a space away from other people. There is not a cap on the number of people who I offer scholarships to. You taking up that space encourages other people to be able to centre their self-care. So I hope that's useful for you, and I would love to see you inside. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on the podcast here, I would love to invite you to Self-Care School. Self-Care School is a membership site where we have group coaching calls every week. We have a whole load of courses that you can dip into for whatever suits your needs. We have courses on confidence, body image, timekeeping, how to manage big emotions, overwhelm, loads and loads of stuff in there. You can kind of pick out whatever you want to work on. There is a big library of workbooks, which includes journal prompts and questions for you to be able to apply this work to your own life. And we have the most amazing community where people support each other, we learn from each other, and you get to work alongside people with quite often very different life situations to your own, and we learn so much together in community. If you would like some more of this, please do hop over to selfcareschool.co.uk.